Today we will discuss about arc lamps. In our last class, we have discussed about your incandescent lamp. So, in this class, we will discuss about arc lamp, and this class is for 5th sem diploma electrical students. And before starting, uh, we should understand the arc lamp or carbon arc lamp, that these lamps were used earlier, and day by day with the development of new techniques, the older lamps has been outdated. So we should have a thorough knowledge that what were their technology and what made the new technologies to dominate this old form of technology. So today the arc lamp, that is also known as your carbon arc lamp, will be discussed. So it is the easiest type of lamp and still used in cinema projectors and searchlights when a very bright point source of light is required. So they are used in your cinema projectors, they are also used in our searchlight, and also very bright point source of light wherever they are required. In this lamp, two hard carbon rods are placed end to end and connected to DC supply. So there are two hard carbon rods which are placed end to end and are connected to DC supply. The voltage of DC supply should not be less than 45 volt. When current is passed, what happens? The carbon rods became incandescent due to high resistance. When the two carbon rods are separated apart by a small distance or of 2 or 3 an arc is struck. So as already in our classes, that is your arc building classes, I have already illustrated you how a arc is struck when a voltage is injected across two electrodes, and especially if they are if suppose two electrodes are having a potential and they are suddenly what do you say, they are made to contact with each other, and suddenly we just separate them out, and we maintain also a specific distance also. So what will happen in this process? A arc will be struck. Exactly here also the same uh, principle is involved, right? Here also we use similar kind of principle, and we strike a arc, and this method is applicable only where the voltage is not less than 45 degree, or greater voltage of 45 degree is the only method by which this arc or this carbon arc lamp are used. So the arc is maintained by so when the two carbon rods are separated apart by a small distance of 2 or 3 an arc is struck between the two carbon rods. So mind you students, these two rods or electrodes are made up of carbon, right? And white light will be produced because the arc is already, if you have noticed any arc, then it is in form of white, or you can say silver like lights are produced as spark. So white light is now produced. The arc is maintained by transfer of carbon particles from positive rod to negative rod. So now the particle will, now what will happen to the particle? They will transfer carbon particles from positive rod to the negative rod. So positive rod becomes hollow after some times, and negative rod becomes pointed pencil. So what will happen? The tip of the pencil will become the negative carbon rod will be a pencil tip like formation, whereas the positive your carbon rod will be hollow. It will be just like that. Let me show you with the help of a figure. suppose these are the two electrodes, they have been separated by a distance, let us say it is 2 to 3 mm, and a voltage higher than 45 volt, which is DC, is applied, then we will produce a arc, right? So there will be arc formation. So this arc is white in color, and if we allow this arc, what will happen? The carbon particles from, suppose this one is positive and this one is negative, so carbon particles will move or transfer from positive to negative. As a result, there will be a decaying, or you can say the positive carbon electrode will be slowly uh, it may be, you can say it will be reducing, right? So I will also show you the diagram after what happens. After a little while, what happens? This positive one becomes hollow inside, right? So what do you mean by hollow inside? So it will form, this electrode rod will be hollow inside. That means it will have your you can say the material has been shifted from the positive part to the negative electrode, and the tip of the your you can say the tip of the material will be, or the carbon rod will be pointed, or you can say pencil like structure. Now the arc is maintained by transfer of carbon from positive to positive particle to the negative rod. So positive rod becomes hollow after some times, and negative rod becomes pointed pencil. The rate of burning of positive rod is twice than that of the negative rod. So student, mind this thing. The what is this important thing? That is, let me highlight it first so that you can understand. The positive rod, the rate of decaying of this positive rod is twice as that of the negative rod. So why it is important, let me tell you. Suppose you will choose two electrodes, right? What are these two electrodes? One will be positive, the other will be negative. So here exactly the figure which I had drawn, it has been shown here, right? So this one is the positive one, this one is the positive one, this one is the negative one. Now the positive electrode should be twice that of your negative electrode. Why? Because already we have stated that the decaying of the positive electrode is twice as that of the negative, which I have already highlighted. Let me highlight it again also. So this is the thing, the positive rod is twice than that of the negative rod. So if this is the case, if we will take two electrode of equal dimension, what will happen? Before the completion of a positive rod, the negative rod would have been there, but the positive electrode, or you can say electrode, will be completed. There will be no carbon electrode present because it will be decayed. So you have to choose twice the size of your positive, twice the size of your negative electrode. In case of AC supply used, consumption of both the carbon rod is equal. So if it is used in DC only, such kind of assumption should be made, like the size of the electrode of the positive should be twice that of the negative one. But if it is of AC, then equal consumption will be there. So you should not go for the twice size of the negative carbon rod. You should take equal size carbon rods. So this is the diagram. So you can clearly see the negative electrode or the carbon rod, its tip is like the pencil, and the positive carbon rod, it has formed due to this that carbon particles has been shifted from positive to negative, so it has made it hollow inside, right? Now there is the circuit diagram, or you can say the diagram of this kind of lamp. There is a series resistance connected, and there are two electrodes, and there is a positive and negative terminal from where we have to excite it, by which we can get a arc or produce an arc. In this lamp, about 85% if light is given out by the positive carbon rod, 10% by negative carbon rod, and 5% by the air. The temperature of positive carbon rod is between 3500 to 4000 or 3500 to 4000 degrees centigrade. So it's a very huge amount of temperature. And that of negative rod is 2500 degrees centigrade. So the higher temperature is always positive electrode. You should note it down also, students. This is very important. See, the temperature is 3500 to 4000 degrees centigrade, and that of the negative rod is your 2500. Now, lumen efficiency of such lamp is 9 lumens per watt. So now the efficiency of this kind of lamp is 9 lumens per watt. The electric arc has a negative resistance characteristics so as to avoid short circuit. A series resistance is used for stabilizing the arc. So what do you mean by stabilizing the arc? Actually, students, we have to maintain this arc. If this arc is vanished, then this lamp will not work, and neither there will be a continuous flow of arc. As a result, we can have the lamp to perform its operation. So we have to stable this arc. So for that reason only we have inserted a series resistance. Now students, we will discuss about gaseous discharge lamp. This is also known as your fluorescent tube. It is also very commonly used household illuminating source. So today this fluorescent tube is also outdated. Nowadays new technology lamps are used. So we will discuss about fluorescent tube also. So its working principle is fluorescent tube will be clear from the following discussion. We are familiar with the term excitation, collision and excited atom from the study of article in the previous section. So consider the cathode filament emitting electrons after getting heated due to supply of current. So after supply of current, what happens? Your electrons are emitted. These electrons, while accelerating, collide with argon and mercury vapor atoms. So while they accelerate, these electrons, they collide with argon and mercury vapor atoms. The excited atom of mercury give radiation of 2537 AU, that is Armstrong unit. Wavelength in the given case due to low pressure inside the tube. Obviously this radiation is ultraviolet and can produce no illumination if left as such. On the other hand, if radiation of this wavelength is made to strike with certain phosphor material, there is re-emission of light radiation of a different wavelength. This effect is called fluorescence. So you should remember what is fluorescence. So what is fluorescence? If it is asked, what you will say? If the radiation of the wavelength is made to strike with certain phosphor material, there is a re-emission of light, radiation of different wavelength, that is radiation of different wavelength. This effect is called fluorescence and hence the name is fluorescent tube. So there is a circuit diagram, or you can say the diagram of this fluorescent lamp. So contact pin is shown, glass cover is there, hot cathode, phosphor coating, mercury, argon, excitation, collision, ultraviolet radiation, fluorescent light and emission of electrons. So it can be understood by the theory. Different color of lights are produced by different phosphorus or phosphors coated in the inner side of the tube of the glass cover. So depending upon the coating only, the light will be produced. So there are varieties of light which can be produced by the coating inside the glass tube. Some of the phosphor and colors given are mentioned below. So what are the colors? Let us know. Zinc silicate, it will produce green light. If the inner wall is coated with your magnesium tungstate, then what will happen? Bluish white will be produced. If it is of cadmium borate, it will produce pink. Now the length of fluorescent tube is 1.2 meters. You should remember, students, because this is not the way that the length can be anything. See, length can be anything, but provided we have to make the emission and the radiation with that length, or considering the length only, we can choose different emission of this electrons, or you can say from the figure that the emission will be emitted accordingly. So the length has been kept constant for a fluorescent tube, that is 1.2 meters or 0.6 meter. There are also fluorescent tubes available in 0.6 meters also. Ionization of the medium requires a very high energy associated with the striking electrons, which is possible in case of DC operation only. When one filament of the tube works as cathode and the other as the anode, giving continuous accelerating or acceleration of the striking electrons. In case of AC, the accelerating electrons during positive half cycle meet with deaccelerating during negative half cycle due to changed polarities of the electrodes. Thus, a high voltage surge is essential to strike a discharge across the dielectric strength. So, a high voltage surge, what do you mean by surge? A sudden increase in potential, or there will be a sudden increase in current, can be called as your surge also. So, a high voltage surge is essential to strike a discharge across the entire length of the tube during any half cycle of the supply, after which the discharge is maintained even at lesser than the supplied voltage. To study the effect, let us consider the diagram as shown, and the working is as below. The circuit is energized. Which circuit? This is the circuit. This is the typical diagram of a fluorescent tube. You should remember also what are the things connected, or what are the parameters, or you can say what are the electrical equipments connected with this circuit. Let us first understand. There is a fluorescent tube. Let me mark it also so that it will be easier for you. So this is the fluorescent tube. It has been written, I have marked with the pink color. Now what else is there? There is also a capacitor which is glow type. This is this one, right? There is a choke. This one is the choke. Now the circuit is connected as per the diagram, and then starter has shown fluorescent tube and choke. Now capacitors are connected, as you can see in this diagram. These capacitors are connected. These capacitors are connected to improve the power factor. So it will be we will discuss it in the theory part, right? So let us proceed. So nearly full supply voltage appears across the starter terminal. Due to low resistance of filament and negligible current through the choke, the starter is filled with some monoatomic gas like argon. This gas ionizes and glow appears inside the starter. So you might have also observed while you have switched on any fluorescent tube that the starter, it shows some glow light when it is operating during the starting period, right? The gas ionizes and a glow appears inside the starter. This warms up the bimetallic strip carrying moving contact. Soon after, the metal bends mercury yes mercury give a radiation of soon after just a second students. Soon after this strip bends and short circuits the starter terminals. This gives a circulation of strong current through the filaments F1 and F2 and the choke circuit. The filament is coated with oxides of barium and strontium, resulting in thermoionic emission which can ionize the argon gas inside the tube. In the meanwhile, the bimetallic strip of the starter cools down and breaks open the starter circuit. This sudden opening of the starter contact results in an abrupt change of current flux linking with the choke coil. A high voltage surge is produced in the choke which makes one the filament at a very high potential with respect to the other filament. This momentary high potential difference is enough to ionize the gas medium, that is mercury and argon present inside the tube. This results in passage of current between two electrodes inside the tube. As long as the ionization persists, collision between electrons and uh, collision of electrons and mercury atom continues. Further emission from filament is possible through the striking of positive ions with the filament, giving giving afterwards through the starter due to low voltage potential difference across the tube, since a part of the supply voltage across the choke circuit. Now students, this diagram already we have discussed. So F1 and F2 are filament of the tube, C dash is the capacitor across the starter, C is the capacitor across the tube circuit. The choke also helps in keeping the current through the ionized medium within the safe value or the limits. The radiation from excited mercury atom falling on the phosphor coating results in fluorescence as explained. The average life of this fluorescent tube is 4000 hours and its efficiency is about 40 lumens per watt. Function of capacitor. So what is the function of the capacitor we will discuss. The capacitor across the starter terminal is to provide or to avoid introduction of noise signals into the reception of a radio or transistor receiver being operated near the tube. If the capacitor C is missing across the capacitor, a radio receiver starts picking up a typical hum which disturbs the quality of reception. The capacitor C across the tube main circuit is to improve the power factor also, which otherwise low due to the presence of inductive or choke in the tube circuit. Tube circuit with thermal starter switch. The starter in the given case makes use of a bimetallic strip which keeps a pair of contacts closed when cold. A heating filament is also incorporated in the device, which comes in series with the main filament of the tube. It is as shown in the figure. So you can see in this figure what is there. There is the tube, fluorescent tube, and there is a capacitor, there is a bimetallic strip, there is a heating element, and we have connected it through a choke. There is a capacitor also, and AC supply is given. So now, when the circuit is switched on, the current starts flowing through the choke, and the different filaments coming in series in the circuit. The bimetallic strip gets heated up due to the heat produced in heated filament, which is HF, and as shown in the diagram, and opens the normally closed contacts NC, which is normally closed. Consequently, the current through the choke is reduced to zero, which gives the desired change of flux to introduce high tension surge in the choke, which starts the tube. When after starting of the tube, the tube goes cold, it again closes the starter contacts. The potential difference across the tube does not send a strong current through the starter circuit to produce any remarkable action. Now it is worth noting, students, the temporary lighting for decoration purpose starters are not used by many electricians. Instead of the starter, they bring two leads from the filament, short the lead momentarily, and open abruptly, giving the necessary start. So you might have noticed also where there is no starters in a fluorescent tube arrangement. Generally, the electrician, what do? They simply short circuit those starter terminals to give a momentarily spark so that it starts. So tube circuit with DC mains. So what happens if we use DC main? When operating across DC, there is no necessity of choke and the capacitors. Right? So the current for ionization has, of course, to be checked and kept within safe working limits. For this purpose, an incandescent bulb is introduced in series with the filament, which keeps glowing after the tube has started. The energy consumed by the series bulb is not so high as its rated value. So this is the circuit diagram: a low wattage tungsten filament bulb and DC main 220 volt is applied, and here in this arrangement no choke, no starter is required. It is worth noting that while working on DC, the tube light does not suffer from stroboscopic effect as on AC supply. This effect can be observed by looking into anything rotating in the tube light at certain RPM. An object rotating clockwise is actually, in actual practice, will look like rotating in anti-clockwise direction. This can create a nuisance in the industrial activities involving rotating machine, tool parts. The effect can be minimized either by high frequency special supply circuit for tube lights or by distributing the adjacent tube lights on different phase of supply. So if the tube light which are used will be excited by, suppose a tube light or your fluorescent tube is excited by R phase, then in the nearby fluorescent tube we will energize it by the Y phase. So this stroboscopic effect will be neutralized, and this will not hamper in the industrial field. So the effect can be minimized either by using high frequency special supply circuits or for tube lights, or by distributing the adjacent light tube on different phase of supply. Now student, we will discuss about sodium vapor lamp, which is very essential as far as your exams are concerned, because this questions is asked frequently. Sodium vapor lamp consists of a inner U-shaped glass tube made of high resistance glass and contain a small amount of metallic sodium, neon gas, and two electrodes, one anode and other cathode. So the diagram of this sodium vapor lamp is as shown in your screen. So you should remember this diagram, students. let me bring this diagram in a single screen so that it will be easy for understanding. So we have 230 volt AC supply. Across them there is a capacitor connected. A choke is connected in series here. So there is a power factor correction capacitor, there is a choke, there is a cathode heating transformer, there is a cathode inside the, you can say, sodium vapor lamp, there is a vacuum tube, there is a discharge tube, and there is a anode. So this is the construction part. We will now go for its theory. The inner tube is enclosed with an outer glass tube of U-shaped, and the space between the evacuated to minimize the heat loss from the inner tube. So inside the glass tube or the U-shaped tube, it is evacuated so as to minimize the heat losses. The presence of neon gas serves to vaporize the sodium by producing sufficient heat. The glass tube is used of U-shaped because long discharge path is necessary. Because we have to make the path long. So by making it of U-shape, we can make the path longer. This lamp is used horizontally to help the medium or the sodium when spread along the tube. So it has to be used horizontally. When supply is given to the lamp, the discharge take place in the neon gas first, and a red-orange glow produce. The metallic sodium gradually vaporizes and then ionizes, thereby producing a light of yellow color. This lamp is called a monochromatic lamp because it emits a light of yellow color of wavelength 5900 Armstrong. The lamp takes about 5 to 6 minutes for starting and takes about 15 minutes for coming in full brilliancy. The luminous efficiency of the lamp is 50 lumens per watt, and its average life is about 3000 working hours. Operating temperature for this lamp is 300 degrees centigrade. So under normal operating time, the temperature will be around 300 degrees centigrade, and lamps are manufactured in the ratings of 40, 60, 85 and 140 watt rating. The cathode heating transformer is used to send a high voltage of about 480 volts at the time of starting the lamp, so that luminous discharge inside the tube take place. Under normal conditions and normal rated supply is given to the lamp, function of the choke is to limit the current, which tend to increase due to negative temperature resistance characteristics of the discharge path. The condenser is used to improve the power factor, which becomes as low as 0.3 due to choke and transformer. The lamps are suitable only for AC supply operation. These lamps are used for general outdoor lighting and highways where color distortion is not of much importance. These lamps are not suitable for indoor lighting. So it is very much desirable that we should use these lamps in outdoors only, preferably in your highways, or you can say in the indoor it is not good for your eyes, so we should not use in the inside or indoor uses. So this brings to the end of this class. Thank you.